everyone. I will call our City Council meeting to order of May 11th, 2021, which is being held virtually via WebEx. The first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are all able to please put yourself on video and unmute yourself and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
The next item is our open forum. So I will pass it to our executive assistant, Wynn, to just review how folks can participate in the open forum. And then I understand that she will also be reading some submissions that we have tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. We always encourage our residents to participate live in our open forum. So if you would like to, you can comment live during the meeting to council. You can dial 612-861-0651. You can also email your comments ahead of the meeting to kwyn@richfieldmn.gov. You can also leave a voicemail ahead of meetings at 612-861-9711. Again, we encourage our residents to participate live during the meetings, and you can dial 612-861-0651. I do not currently have any callers, but I know we will give it a little bit yet.
And Assistant Wynn, maybe you want to go ahead and start reading one of the comments that was submitted, and then we can check in between and see if folks call in the meantime.
I can certainly do that. So we did have two comments submitted via email. The first one is from William Lynch at 7620 Stevens Avenue in Richfield. His comments are as follows. I oppose the current plans for organized trash recycling organics pickup in Richfield. The proposed rates do not appear to include any of the fees, surcharges, or taxes. This will cause many of the residents to pay more for the same service. The proposed rates are going to cause us to pay hundreds of dollars more a year for these services. We are also going to be forced to pay for an organics program that we will not participate in. I've included copies of my last 4 bills from Aspen Waste. As you can see, there are many fees, taxes, and surcharges on every bill that your pricing does not cover. The next one is from, I believe it's pronounced John Simons. If I could vote on it, I would say no. I feel Richfield has stepped over the line choosing who services my property that I pay taxes on. Something is behind this. Who is lobbying for this? If you choose one garbage hauler for me, then I want these companies replaced too as well. FedEx, UPS, USPS, landscaper, construction crews are flying up and down my street. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, I mean it. 1, address the talking point I hear over and over, that is that the garbage haulers are flying up and down our streets, tearing up the roads. Stop trying to convince people with that talking point. If that is one of the reasons why you are choosing a hauler for me, which is not right, you must dig deeper. What about FedEx, UPS, USPS, and landscapers, etc.? Every day they are going up and down my street. So will you work on getting one delivery company, one landscaper? Will delivery companies, landscapers, and construction companies be chosen for us? I am serious about this. Get one garbage hauler, then I want one delivery company. Item 2, I worked many years building a rapport with my hauler. Negotiated a price that your new plan couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. How can Richfield assume to choose my hauler? The nerve. Did I sign an HOA? I don't drive through a gate to get into Sunnyside Acres. I'm serious. I will manage my own affairs. Thank you. Number 3, who is really benefiting from this? Who are the individuals pushing for this? I have lived in Richfield for 35 years, and this comes up over and over and over. And every time it comes up, it just irritates most of the residents and goes away. Who is lobbying for this? Can anyone answer that question? 4, put it up for a vote. Those are the comments I received, and I still have no callers on the phone.
Thank you so much, Executive Assistant Nguyen. Why don't we just wait a few moments more to make sure nobody joins us, and then we can move to the next item. And thank you to the folks who submitted those 2 comments to be read tonight. All right, Assistant Nguyen, is there anybody else on the line?
I do not have anybody else.
Okay, 1 second here. Oh, all right, and I will close the public forum. And then also, if I received a request by a council member just to repeat, and if maybe this goes to City Manager Rodriguez, how when we do get public comments, how we respond. And I believe that that's only to specific questions that are asked, and then our staff will respond to the questions directly with the residents. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Mayor. We will always follow up with residents on their comments, and then I will publicly provide the answers at the meeting following when they provide the comments.
Thank you very much for that reminder and clarification. The next meeting or the next agenda item is the approval of the minutes of the Joint City Council and Transportation Commission meeting of April 14th, 2021, the Joint Richfield and Bloomington City Council meeting of April 21st, 2021, the City Council work session of April 27th, 2021, the City Council meeting of April 27th, 2021, and the special City Council meeting of May 3rd, 2021.
Councilmember Whalen, I'll move to approve the minutes.
Councilmember Troutman, second.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Councilmember Whalen to move the minutes and seconded by Councilmember Troutman. Analyst Martinez Gavinia, could you please take the roll call vote?
Mayor Reagan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilmember Sapple,
Aye.
Councilmember Troutman. I see that Councilmember Troutman said aye, simply aye. Councilmember Hafer-O'Leary
Aye.
and Councilmember Whalen.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved. The next item is the approval of the agenda.
Councilmember Supple, I'll move the agenda.
Councilmember Troutman, second.
Thank you. The agenda has been moved by Councilmember Supple and seconded by Councilmember Troutman. Analyst Martinez Gavinia, could you please take the roll call vote?
Mayor Reagan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilmember Sapple,
Aye.
Councilmember Troutman,
Aye.
Councilmember Hafer-O'Leary,
Aye.
Councilmember Whalen.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you. The agenda has been approved. The next item is the consent calendar, and that will go to City Manager Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved. No further council action on these items is necessary. On tonight's consent calendar are 3 items. Item A, consider approval of the first reading of a transitory ordinance vacating a portion of Fifth Avenue right-of-way south of 71st Street and schedule a public hearing and second reading for May 25th, 2021. Item B, consider the approval of the small wireless facility co-location supplemental agreement with Celco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless that set forth the terms and conditions of co-locating or co-location on city-owned wireless support structures, light poles. Item C, consider the approval of a resolution committing the City of Richfield funds in the estimated amount of $976,767 for the 77th Street Underpass project. And I submit these 3 items for your consideration on tonight's consent calendar.
Is there a motion to move the calendar?
Councilmember Whalen, I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Trotman, second.
Thank you. The consent calendar has been moved by Councilmember Wayland and seconded by Councilmember Troutman. Are there any comments or questions from council members on the consent agenda? No. Analyst Martinez Gavinia, could you please take the roll call vote?
Mayor Reagan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilmember Supple,
Aye.
Councilmember Trotman, Councilmember
Aye.
Haverhill,
Aye.
Councilmember Whalen.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you. The consent calendar has been moved. The next item goes to Councilmember Supple.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item is to consider a resolution and a first reading of a transitory ordinance establishing a citywide 6-month moratorium on the establishment of any new commercial use involving firearms to allow time for a planning study. The city has not thoroughly reviewed regulations related to firearms since 2004. In light of recent testimony regarding the changing market for the sale of firearms, the city believes it would be wise to conduct a planning study to examine current standards and discuss whether or not adjustments should be made. Would staff like to add anything?
Thank you, Councilmember Supple, Madam Mayor, and other council members. For the record, I'm Community Development Director Stark, and I would just add that, as we say in the staff report, there has been an inquiry about a firearms-related use. Our code has a lot of specific requirements about what firearm-related uses can or cannot be located within certain proximities of schools or residential districts. The inquiry we received, however, was about online gun sales, and we just don't believe that that type of use was contemplated the last time the code was evaluated, and we think it's reasonable to take a little bit of time to think about the impacts of not just online gun sales, but any other changes in firearms-related uses since we last updated this. So with that, I would take any other questions you might have.
Are there questions from council members on the staff report? No.
I guess just one question is what would the process look like for revising this? Is there public input like there's been with the Vets Park study, or is it more of just coming through with a recommendation to Planning Commission and so on?
We don't contemplate having the same kind of consulting assistance. And I don't, because it's not a geographic area, I don't believe we would have any neighborhood meetings per se. We will look to have some public input on appropriate firearms related uses in the community and how those relate to residential uses in schools.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember Supple.
Are you ready for me to make a motion at this point?
Yeah, and then I can go after a second and see if there's additional questions.
All right, at this point, I will move to adopt the attached resolution and conduct a first reading of the attached transitory ordinance establishing a citywide 6-month moratorium on the establishment of new commercial uses involving firearms and schedule a public hearing and a second reading of the attached ordinance for May 25th, 2021.
Hayford O'Leary, second.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Councilmember Supple and seconded by Councilmember Hayford O'Leary. Are there additional comments or questions on the item from Council? Councilmember Supple.
I just think that it's a good idea to review it because back in 2004, we weren't thinking about all the things that are happening with internet sales and all those type of things. And since it was brought up by a resident asking about it, I think it's prudent that we look at it. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? All right, Analyst Martinez Gavinia, could you please take the roll call vote?
Mayor Reagan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilmember Supple,
Aye.
Councilmember Troutman,
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary,
Aye.
Councilmember Whalen.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you. The motion has been approved. The next item is the City Manager's report with City Manager Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we dealt with Mr. Waters' request in the previous business item, so that was due to follow up on that. And he was the person that inquired about internet firearm sales. So we will be taking that issue up and getting back to you then. I also wanted to announce a kind of a bittersweet announcement. After 16 years with us, first as a licensing clerk, and then she was a lead licensing clerk, and then our city clerk. Our city clerk, Beth Van Hoos, is heading to Eagan to take the city clerk job there. It's an exciting move for Beth, but we, of course, will really miss her, and we were lucky to have her for 16 years. She ran a very successful Dep Reg office. This past year was particularly difficult. I really appreciate Beth's efforts and her staff's efforts to continue to provide services despite all the COVID restrictions. I liked how Beth would refer to it. She's like, I bobbed and weaved this year a lot. So she also oversees our elections, and she's done just a terrific job with that. We don't see all the behind the scenes work that takes. It really is a lot. And she's just done excellent work with it. Her last day is Thursday, May 13th. And so I hope you'll join me in wishing her well and thanking her for her years of service here in Richfield.
Thank you, City Manager Rodriguez. Are there other items on your update by chance, or should I go back to Council? Okay.
Nope, that's it.
Great. Thank you so much for that report. Any comments from Council members on the new City Manager Rodriguez is sharing with us? Councilmember Whalen.
I'll just share that as council members, we get elected, and so there's paperwork with elections and the voting process and everything. And every time I worked with Beth on that, she was incredibly helpful, very organized and on top of things. That especially this year, I know the election took a lot to pull off with the COVID precautions and just different ways of voting to accommodate that. But huge shout out to her, huge appreciation for her work. And I know that is a small bit of a whole lot more that she did. So sad to see her go, but congrats on the transition.
Other comments from council members? Councilmember Troutman.
I just want to wish Beth Van Hoos all the best. And Eagan's a great city and a lucky city. And like Councilmember Whalen said, and I think City Manager expressed there's so much work that goes into elections that we don't see. She did that superlatively, and and also to run an office like that and make it profitable for the city is a huge asset that isn't always visible. So so thank you. If you're watching, Beth, then best of luck.
Thank you, Councilmember Troutman. Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Yeah, like Councilmember Whalen, most of my direct experience was dealing with the election process, and I know she provided, great information and resources for the city, as she did to every candidate. And it means a lot when you're a first-time candidate and you're learning what to do and go through that process. So she was a great professional, and I hope she does very well in Eagan as well.
Councilmember Supple.
I just want to say a heartfelt thank you, because I know having to deal with all the COVID changes and everything else, and you always would roll with it and take good care of it. So I really appreciate all you've done for the city, and I'm wishing you the best in your new position.
Thank you, Councilmember Supple. And then I'll just wish our city clerk well wishes on her new journey. And over the years, I just think of all the things that she's had to be a superhero on. I think all of our staff are superheroes, but that looks unique for each staff and each department, depending on what they do in the community and the services that they provide. But I think Elizabeth's department was really, in some ways, sometimes the only, outside of our parks, maybe the only other time, maybe it's the Depbridge department, the only time, it's the only reason you go into City Hall itself. And it's the first experience sometimes, or maybe even the only experience coming into City Hall. And it's her staff that are the welcoming faces and voices of our community and of our city. And I know just in the past couple years alone, the tremendous amount of pivoting and things that they've had to take into account that we've never had to take into account. I remember also her leadership with our police chief around making sure that community members felt really safe during our election process. And I'm sure that was a first in many ways, unfortunately, of having to take that level of precaution to encourage people and help them feel safe in coming in and voting. Then we had the COVID precautions that we needed to take during the elections, the special elections, and then all of the maneuvering and adapting to continue our services in a way that was safe. And I just think about her tremendous amount of calm throughout that whole process. She was always like, well, here we are, and I'm going to do what we got to do and support her staff throughout that whole process. But she always had such a good spirit in terms of taking on the tremendous amount of compounding challenges, really, that her department faced. And additionally, I know that there was added stress on top of it all in terms of our community members just being burnt out, tired, grumpy, not understanding how processes have changed, the department being open in new ways and being on the receiving end, unfortunately, of a lot of just frustration, anger, confusion from our residents around the services that her department provided. And her leadership has just been so important in continuing to provide quality services consistently throughout all these situations. And I just thank her for her leadership. So we'll be sad to see her go, and we're tremendously thankful for her leadership and just the way that she's responded time and time again to all of these issues that really we've never had to face in this way before. So she's one of the folks in the city that I really think of how they've had to pivot so much, so consistently, and be so creative. So a huge thanks to our city clerk. Any other comments? All right, thank you so much for the report, City Manager Rodriguez, and please wish our city clerk well wishes on behalf of the council. So claims and payroll. I think Councilmember Whalen, I don't think you've done it for a little bit. I'll pass claims and payroll to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I will move claims and payroll.
Councilmember Supple, I'll second.
Thank you. Claims and payroll has been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Supple. City Assistant Executive Analyst Martinez Gavinia, could you please take the roll call?
Mayor Reagan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilmember Sepple,
Aye.
Councilmember Troutman,
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary,
Aye.
Councilmember Whalen.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you so much. Claims and payroll has been moved. The next item is hats off to Hometown Hits, and I will start with Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
I was just going to mention the progress on the Orange Line stations in Richfield. I've just mostly been watching 66th Street, but if you want to get a sense of what those stations will be, to those who don't know, this will be all day, every day express bus service on 35 between Burnsville and downtown Minneapolis. But you can get a much better sense of the stations now that the structure is up at 66th Street. And I know the tunnel under 494 at Knox Avenue, which will also be open to walk and bike through to Southtown, is near completion as well. So I'm very excited about this. Also great timing that this is this fall, and hopefully COVID is getting better and people are getting more interested in taking transit. So the perfect time to think about taking transit when this line opens.
Thank you, Councilmember Hayford O'Leary. Councilmember Whalen.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to lift up 2 things from last Wednesday. The first was I got invited to join Centennial Elementary for their Bike to School Day, which was a blast. Helped lead a bike train of, I think we had about 12 kids in our group, and a few more parents and a couple of the teachers. I was one of 3 bike trains from different parts of town, and just want to give a huge shout out. There were a whole bunch of people who helped coordinate it, and I believe it happened at many, if not all of the schools, but our Safe Routes to School partnership with the school district and Will's work through that is wonderful. Want to give a shout out to Colleen, the principal, and then all of the other people who I don't even know who helped pull that together. But it was a blast, and it's a great way to help kids experience safe ways to bike or walk to school. And then the second thing right after that was the 50th birthday celebration of Wood Lake Nature Center. And so it was great to have a smaller distanced event. I know there's a bigger thing getting planned for later in the year when there hopefully will not be quite as many restrictions needed on group gatherings, but was great to hear from several speakers about what Wood Lake has meant to them, to students, to neighbors, to everyone, and look a bit at the 50-year history and what some of the next 50 years might look like.
Thank you, Councilmember Whalen. Councilmember Sepple.
Thank you. I was very thrilled at the Richfield Arts Commission when they started talking about all the plans that are coming up for events. And there's a lot of things that are pending that are coming up as soon as the COVID restrictions come off. But there's one that I can announce tonight that's very exciting. There is going to be a partnership with the Illusion Theater, and they're going to have a summer program called Live at Lindale Gardens. So it's going to be at the amphitheater at the Lindale Gardens at 6400 Lindale behind the Lake Winds Co-op. And it's going to go from July 15th through September 15th. And it's usually on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. with rain dates on Thursdays. And there's a couple of Saturday performances. But there are some things that I'm excited about. I'm a little bit partial to the August 11th Richfield Middle School Theater Arts when the kids are going to present Could You Hug a Cactus? But there are also things like Alive and Kicking, which is a senior dance group that is just thrilling to watch. People like Kevin Kling and Simone Perrin and Dan, I'm not going to say this right, Schoenard. So there's a lot of different events that are going to be happening. And so we're really looking forward to that. And there also are several other events that are kind of in the pipeline, but we have to wait until we hear the COVID guidelines. So I'll be bringing more to those to you in the future. So thank you to everyone involved in that and to the Arts Commission. And then the last one that I have here is that, you know, we've been talking about the sub-area study for Portland and 66th. and the second round of public outreach is going on right now. So postcards were mailed to property owners and residents on Wednesday, and they were also sent to the American Legion representatives. But if you did not get a postcard and you want to be a part of that, you can go on the city webpage, and there is a place to look at the project and give your input. So thank you to everyone involved with that as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Supple and Councilmember Troutman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give a quick hats off. I know I mentioned it before last week, but this is the first week of soccer, and outdoor athletics are back in Richfield, and it was wonderful to see families out and kids out playing and enjoying good weather or medium good weather and each other. And so hats off to our Parks and Rec as usual for just creating those great opportunities for community and connection and for our kids to develop.
Thank you, Councilmember Troutman. I will just add, I was able to attend the Wood Lake 50th birthday as well, and it was so fun and just so great to hear the history of Wood Lake Nature Center in our community, hear how it's really supported the mental health and well-being of our residents during the pandemic, but also come together and think about what the future, the next 50 and 100 years of Wood Lake will look like. And we are in an exciting time where Wood Lake really, the building needs repair, and we're ready as a community and as a city to really take it to that next level of just stability and updating that building, but also just re-envisioning what the future of Wood Lake will be. And so it was just a great reminder, and I'm really looking forward to helping lead that in partnership with our staff and our residents. And really envisioning what will the future of Wood Lake look like, and getting to be a part of that. So that was very inspiring. And then I'll just add one last thing. We have a community conversation with our police department coming up, and that is on our website and also on our Facebook page of the city. So it's May 15th this weekend from 11 to noon. And it's an opportunity to have meaningful discussion and with our police and our community members. And it's a partnership with faith-based communities, our police department, Hennepin County, a couple faith-based organizations, and our joint community police partnership, and our PMAC. So again, that information is online and on our Facebook, and you can register to join the community conversation this weekend, May 15th from 11 to noon. All right, and I think that's everything. So I will adjourn our meeting. Have a great night, everyone.